Musk, who said that basically their superpower was they work weekends. You know, like their ability to move very, very quickly and be ahead of when the courts can schedule hearings and issue injunctions and opinions should worry us. And it should worry us that the Trump administration continues to feel like they need to be one step ahead, right? I mean, like you might ask yourself, if this was all on the up and up, if the Trump administration just wanted what was best for the American people, why wouldn't they just announce that this is what they're going to do on a government-wide basis? Put it out, let lawsuits be filed, let those lawsuits litigate themselves through. And if they win, then they can go ahead and do it. And if they can't, if they don't, then they don't do it at all. Like, why are they the ones who keep doing this? And I think it should be concerning to people.
You had mentioned that these lawsuits are reactive. Is there a way that we can do lawsuits that are proactive, knowing full well that DOJ is going from agency to agency to agency? And so I understand how in normal course of business, you got to wait until there's actually harm to have something to litigate. But given what we can see, given the pattern that's emerged from all of this, wouldn't it stand to reason that knowing that DOJ is going to do something that has already been found was illegal at USAID, at Treasury, at all of these other agencies, and that if their next target is IRS or some other agency, that we have everything we need to know to be able to prevent this from happening before it actually does happen?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And it's just unfortunately not how the law works. You know, I was just glancing at the opinion that we've been talking about, and the judge in a footnote, you know, lists, here's a lawsuit about the Department of Labor, there's a lawsuit about Health and Human Services, CFPB, you know, goes on and on, you know, the Treasury Department, you know, as you say, it's like agency to agency to agency. But the way the court system works is they're only allowed to hear actual cases and controversies. So they can't anticipate that there'll be a case or anticipate there'll be a controversy. So this is just a structural flaw in what the judiciary can do. But there is a solution to this. And I want to be able to listen to me with this. It's called Congress. And before any of you start laying blame at any of the Democrats in the House or Senate, I want you to ask yourself, where the hell are the Republicans? They run the show. You know, Speaker Johnson was elected by the Republicans in the House. John Thune was elected majority leader by the Republicans in the Senate. And they are not standing up. They are the ones who could be holding oversight hearings, who could be insisting that this end, but they're not doing it. Instead, when you watch the videos on TikTok or on YouTube, and Brian, I'm sure, you know, you have probably covered this before, like you see these Republican members going to their town halls and being confronted by people who are really pissed off about this. What are they? They're like, oh, I didn't know. I don't know anything about that. You know, maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. I mean, like it is the Republicans in the House and Senate who are failing democracy right now, as much as it is Elon Musk or Donald Trump or OPM or any of these agencies. So let's keep our eye on the ball. It's okay to be frustrated with how slowly the courts move, but be angry about what the Republicans in Congress are doing here.
And by the way, just to build on exactly that point, and I spoke about this on my podcast this week, this issue of, look, I get that Democrats are in the wilderness right now, that we don't have power to be able to exercise. But in fact, being able to go to these town halls and talk to these Republican members of Congress and putting pressure on these people who prior to this moment only thought that their biggest issue, that the biggest problem they would have to contend with was the prospect of Trump calling out these people online or fielding some primary challenger for them, that was the biggest issue that they had to face. Well, now you have people going to their town halls all across the country, and they're basically saying, forget the prospect of a primary challenge at some untold point in the future. We are the people who elected you directly. And if you don't start standing up for your own autonomy as a co-equal branch of government, if you don't start pushing back against Elon Musk running roughshod against across the entire government, against his efforts to cut cancer funding and Medicaid and Social Security and firing veterans from the VA and on and on and on, then we're gonna vote you out. And so you don't even have to worry about the prospect of maybe Trump fielding some primary candidate, because we're the people who are directly responsible for bringing you into office. And it's not just happening at the hands of like these crunchy liberals, right? This is happening in R plus 10, R plus 15, R plus 20, R plus 25 districts. So these are heavily Republican districts. One district that made national news, McCormick, this is a district that's voted Republican every year since 1967. That's 57 years of Republican rule. Again, these people are not coordinating district-wide BLM marches, right? And yet for them to show up at these town halls and basically put the fear of God into these elected officials because they're not standing up to Elon and Trump, I think is exactly what people need to be doing. And the only way, by the way, to your exact point, Mark, that we're going to see some sea change is if more people continue to show up and express their dissatisfaction with what these people are doing. Because otherwise, the only thing that these people have to worry about is if Trump tweets about them or if Elon says he's going to fund some primary challenge. But now we're seeing, for the very first time since the administration started, we're seeing actually these people start to stand up and defend some of their autonomy, only because they can see how upset their constituents are in their very own districts.
And the thing I can't figure out, and I'm genuinely curious because you've covered this actually more closely than I've followed it, is the reaction of the Republican members of Congress is sort of disbelief. And what I can't figure out is if the disbelief is because they live in a media ecosystem that they actually don't know. Like they actually are not aware what Elon Musk is doing. They are not aware of what Doge is doing. They're not aware of the impact, as you say, on veterans, on the impact on health, on Medicaid, whether they are unaware or whether they are aware. And they're just playing the game that, frankly, I've always assumed they play in the hallways of Congress, which is, oh, I didn't see that, but they really have, right? They're feigning not being aware. And I don't know if you have a point of view on that, because it is sort of shocking that how quickly these members of Congress are sort of taken aback by information being put in front of them.
I really do think it's a matter of them having been insulated for so long. They're insulated in the halls of Congress. They're insulated on right-wing media. The voices that are put in positions of power in the administration are all these far-right voices. We just learned that Dan Bongino was named deputy director of the FBI. This is not somebody who is known for nuance. Pam Bondi at DOJ, Kash Patel also above as the FBI director himself. And so
Pete Hegseth,
right. Defense. And so these people are insulated from any sense of nuance or measured opinions, and they just get embroiled in this like DC brain rot where they recognize that okay, all of the people in positions above them are of a certain political persuasion, which is to say far right, and really they don't ever have to encounter normal people, because even the people that they speak to in the media who should be hostile to them, the media is there to hold these people to account. They're talking to Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend at Right Side Broadcasting Network. They're talking to Pete Hegseth's co-anchors on Fox and Friends or whatever show he was on. And so of course these people aren't going to be adversarial to them. Of course these people aren't going to be hostile to them. And so this is the only instance where that bubble gets pierced. This hermetically sealed bubble gets pierced, and they actually have to confront people who are impacted by this stuff. They actually have to confront people who aren't millionaire TV anchors led on by billionaire media conglomerate owners. These are regular people who may work in the federal government, who may rely on the NIH doing cancer research, who may be one of the millions and millions and millions of people who rely on Medicaid, who rely on SNAP benefits, who rely on the Children's Health Insurance Program. And so of course these people don't give a shit what Rupert Murdoch has to say, because this is stuff that impacts regular people's lives. And I think it's important because this is the first instance we're seeing of that bubble actually getting pierced and these people actually being held to account for what's happening in DC.
Absolutely. And, it's funny. I had Sarah Longwell on my podcast recently. And, when Fox News came up, she said to me, she's like, what people don't realize is Fox News is just the part of the iceberg you can see. So I hope everyone who's just listening heard what Brian said in terms of other outlets. These are outlets you have not probably paid attention to. Probably you're not aware of what right side media is, or what Dan Bongino's background is in all of this. But when people complain about Fox News, they are literally complaining about the part that they see. They are the part that they see in their cable bundle. What they are not seeing are all of the right-wing echo chambers, part of this ecosystem of misinformation and disinformation and hate and the like. And that's the reason why you need to support people like Brian Tyler Cohen. Usually he's telling you to support me. I'm here to tell you this is why you need to support people like him. Because the fact is, he is someone who is getting out the news to you directly. He shows you the clips.